Welcome back, everybody, to episode 15 of The Exit Row. I'm your host, Adama Anderson, here with Justin Moore.
Hey, how we doing?
Paige.
Hey, guys.
Larson, I should say your last name.
Thanks for that.
Just Paige.
Yeah,
Nothing special, I guess.
We are in episode 15, and we recently had a trip together.
Yes.
The Exit Row went to Florida.
We had a business trip.
Yes, we had a business trip, and we started it off here in Omaha, Nebraska.
The day after a blizzard.
Yes.
Yeah, and almost kind of during the blizzard, almost,
Yeah. So, morning of, we all go to the airport. Justin, you had a ride.
Yeah, shout out Randall. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Randall.
I didn't want to pay for parking.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then Paige and I, we went, and the roads were miserable.
That was really bad.
Absolutely miserable.
No, I mean, honestly, if this trip was 24 hours like before the scheduled time, like this trip might not happen.
I don't
Correct.
think so.
Mm-hmm.
This was the inaugural Southwest flight from Omaha to
Fort Lauderdale.
We went to Fort Lauderdale.
Not Orlando.
I know it. It's been a whole week.
Yeah. And so we took that trip. Dangerous conditions to get to the airport. I started going down.
Better from where it was. There was a time where you probably couldn't have gotten to the airport.
It
was the day before,
bad.
for sure.
And I know that I slid down a hill because I could not stop.
Oh,
and
that
I'm
was
like,
scary.
Here we go. I'm going to end up in the snowbank here. And thankfully, I was able to stop in time. But you could see it was just miserable conditions to get to the airport. However, Southwest canceled all of their flights for almost all their flights that day, except they did not cancel this flight.
There's a couple others, but yeah, majority of them.
Oh, yeah. This flight had to go. It's the first one. And it's very convenient that we went to Florida with 100 degree difference. Unlike Miami Dolphins, who went to Kansas City and experienced a different 100-degree difference.
I mean, honestly, we experienced that on the way back.
Oh, yeah, it was miserable.
Yeah, oof.
So, we all get to the airport, right? And
I was there first. I won.
You won.
You won
were
the
there
race.
First, so you made it through. Paige and I, we ended up going through the...
Lollygagging behind.
Yeah. Oh, we got to the airport, and somebody didn't have TSA pre-check on them because... Southwest did not have my TSA pre-check.
Get with it, bro.
So I had to I had to take my shoes off. I had to take my jacket off.
You actually
what a pleb.
wow. You actually you didn't get it changed like at the counter. That's right. You went straight to the...
Yeah, I checked in because I didn't check a bag in. So
you actually took your shoes off at Ebley? Wow.
Yikes.
It's been years since I've done that.
It was weird.
Me too.
I didn't know what to do.
I didn't know that was allowed.
So I get through TSA because everybody else got through it before me. And we had a special there that day, the Allegiant.
Oh, yeah, the Together We Fly, I think.
Yes, the Together We Fly was there as well. But we get to the gate, and we meet up with Justin.
By the way, the concourse was just chaos, as usual. Like, I feel like every time I'm flying through the North Terminal, you could call it.
Yes.
Like, that terminal just kind of sucks to be in at all times. Like, every time I'm in there, it's just busy. Like, I don't understand it. It always seems busy. Like,
it has been forever for me since I've been in that terminal, and I get it. It is chaos.
I've flown through it several times, but like I feel like every time I'm over there, it's just chaotic.
It feels very Southwest.
It's all over the place. Yeah, and the funny thing, it's not all Southwest. That's the thing,
right?
Yeah.
It's just slammed.
Well, it's also the Allegiant one. It's the Allegiant terminal.
United.
Right.
Yeah. United.
But anyway, I mean, the terminal was just, not fun. Wasn't happy to get on that plane, but yeah.
So
there's a little bit of fanfare, right? I think, Paige, you're a fan of the fanfare at the gate, aren't you?
I usually am, yes. That's generally a statement I can agree with, except this was a little bit on the downside of good fanfare for an inaugural
There's like
flight.
cake and balloons, like it was someone's birthday, but it was an inaugural flight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there was that, and they had cake. They had cake and waters and
Just
soda.
mentioned the cake, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then we got some really high quality sunglasses.
So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. You're jumping ahead.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
So first off, let's go back. All right. So we're there at the gate. Justin had a really good idea to print his ticket
souvenir
as an inaugural ticket,
and which we did for the Redway flight as well.
Yes, we did.
You're welcome.
Now, we checked in.
Which I did.
Yes,
And
yes,
then
you
you
did
did.
have that suggestion.
So then Paige and I, we both went to the counter to go get our tickets as well. Now, Justin and I, we see our plane come in through the blizzard. I mean, it's blizzard conditions,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Justin really, really, really enjoyed the fanfare that came from the gate.
Oh, the gate
Yeah.
agent.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like I said, it was I guess I didn't say it was chaotic, but it was also very loud in the area.
Yeah,
It was a little loud.
You really liked the one lady that was leading the
Loved
charge.
it. Loved it.
She was really pleasant.
Moving on. So let's say we get in line for the flight. We
All
got a
right.
long weekend ahead to talk about. Let's
Yeah.
get in line.
So we get in line, and somebody had A41.
Which is no. Oh, sorry, but yeah.
Somebody had A42. Somebody had A48. Now, in that order, you would think that the person who has a credit card with a company and loves that company would be the first one.
Was
in.
wearing a sweatshirt of them.
Yeah, I was.
She was wearing
Yeah.
a Southwest sweat, which I kind of liken to it going to a concert and wearing a shirt of the band that you're seeing, which I do not like.
Right.
But
I'm
anyway,
with
I
you.
just thought it was funny. But anyway, continue.
And yeah, no. Paige was last. She was A48. And then Justin and I, we were A41 and 42, and we were making fun of you.
You know the best part about that is that you're the one that told us to check in earlier that day.
I know.
Or what was it yesterday? Whatever it was, when check-in time comes, Paige texts us in our group chat that we have on via text, and she's like, everybody, it's time to check in. And then somehow she's the one that ends up being, we should have been
Right.
telling you to check in.
Well, and then with my credit card, I get 2 free early bird check-ins a year, which we all did. And now I want a refund because
It's just funny that you're just like on top of it, but yet you were the last one.
Yeah.
I feel heckin' betrayed, to
Right?
be honest.
Yeah. They
I
don't
have to
like you.
go have a talk with the Southwest CEO because I'm not, yeah.
Maybe it was early bird check-in by first name.
I guess maybe.
Because you would think Justin would be after you, but I don't know.
I mean, who knows how the early bird check-in actually works?
think
I mean,
it's a
like, I would
scam.
honestly love to know. I just think it's just whoever lines up in the queue.
It's a
But-
part scam. Yeah, it's something.
But anyway, the moral of the story is that it's hilarious that Paige was behind us. Not like significantly, but just the fact that she was.
right.
You know?
And the people
Yeah.
between us were laughing too because we were just
Yeah, because y'all were up there mocking me and be like, "Oh, hi, we're in front of you," and
Everyone
just
turning away.
really rubbing it in.
hello back
And-
there.
Just saying hypothetically, if only 47 people were to make this flight, that she wouldn't. But she was 48. For some reason, if they cut the door at 48.
All right. So we're in line. They do the boarding process. Southwest cattle. Or what do I say?
You say it's herding cattle.
The herding the
Herding
cattle.
cattle, yeah.
I was going to cattle the herd. Yes, hurdling the cattle.
Close.
And we get through, and we're super excited. We're like, what swag are we gonna get here with Southwest?
Man, I wonder if it's going to be I wonder if they've got large t-shirts still available, like stuff like that,
Yeah, like something.
I mean, you
right?
would hope, yeah.
Yeah, free water bottle. Yeah, that's some swag you get, and the
Yeah.
cake. They handed everybody a piece of
So
plastic.
we're scanning our tickets, and then the next thing, there's a guy standing right next to the guy that you scanned with.
Yeah.
And they're handing out sunglasses.
handing out sunglasses. So cool. We got some sunglasses. This is gonna
It's
be great.
Florida. It's Florida theme.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you for
makes
the
sense, yeah.
sunglasses. But what's wrong with it, Justin?
They don't say anything on them. They don't even say Southwest on them.
No.
They're just generic colored. Like everyone got different colors. Cool, I guess. But they don't even say anything on it. Like if you want to put Southwest on it, you got to put it on your own with pen.
Yes, basically yes.
Yeah.
No, not basically. Yes.
That
Yeah.
was
Like it was cool. Like I honestly was kind of excited to see sunglasses. I was like, all right, at least there's something. But then when I got I don't know when I noticed it. I don't know if it was on the plane or just while we were standing in the the jet bridge. But I was like, these say nothing on them.
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was Jetbridge. You were like upset. I'm like, wait, what? Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Honestly, like this is like because in my hopes were up hoping something was sitting in the seat kind of thing. You know?
That's
No,
what I was
exactly,
hoping too.
exactly.
Yeah, like
But
a goodie bag or something. You know?
But spoiler alert,
nothing.
No.
the only
Yeah.
person sitting in the seat was me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get on the plane and we get our seats, which obviously we all love the window seat. And interesting, Justin got the exit row. I saw that there were exit row seats, so I was like, okay, I'm going to let Paige go ahead and take it. I'll go ahead and go behind. But Paige decided to go past the exit row, and I like look at her. Justin's looking at her and said, "The exit row is for you."
I didn't even realize. I was like, oh, okay. I went back. So it's
She
whatever.
was just following Adama naturally.
She was
so.
following me, and I'm like, "The exit row, get in the exit row." And the people around were laughing. It's like, "Yeah, get in the exit row." I'm like, "We have a podcast called The Exit Row."
Or I just assume, like, even if it's not that, when I see an open exit row seat, like if it's available, take it.
Take it.
That's just why I was surprised she passed it up. I was like, oh, it's available. I'm surprised she didn't want that.
I took it though.
I immediately took it.
She did get to it. So
I took it in hopes that the door would blow off mid-flight. You know?
yeah,
Shout out Boeing.
yeah. I was about to say, shout out Alaska.
Right.
Shout out Boeing. It's not Alaska's fault. It's Boeing. But anyway.
So we all get our seats, and I happen to get the one with the extra leg room, which was really
Yeah, you got
nice.
the weird like first class type
yeah.
seat.
Yeah, I really was happy with
That
that
seat is. I always forget about that one. Yeah.
And it's so weird because like when I had to put my stuff away, I had to like reach all the way across this other person to like.
Oh,
So-
yeah, that's true.
I always forget. I would have gone for that one. I always because when I see the exit row, at least on Southwest, I go for that. But
Right.
I always forget about that seat. That's because that's further back.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. It's still part of the exit row, so I had to say yes. I will help open it up. You know,
Yeah, we showed our exit row ID cards. She was like, "Got it."
it's like you know.
We're qualified.
So yeah, we all get on the aircraft, and you know we taxi and get ourselves out.
It was
of-
crazy. We sat on the tarmac right there on the airfield for like several minutes, if I remember correctly. And I just remember the plane was like it was windy, so windy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys felt it, but I could feel the plane moving.
And
That's crazy.
And just looking out and seeing just awful Nebraska going through awful times.
exactly, seeing all the snow blow across the taxiways and the runway, that was like.
I was getting ready for a tough takeoff, honestly. I
Me
was like, this is
too.
gonna be.
But it was
this is gonna
really
be-
smooth.
Yeah, it was.
And
I was shocked.
I think
Shout
in
out
the
pilot.
previous podcast, I talked about my first time ever landing in Omaha. My first ever commercial plane was landing in a blizzard, so I kind of had flashbacks. I'm like, oh, but
Yeah.
this time I'm leaving.
But no, yeah, those winds were no joke
No.
that afternoon.
It was pretty bad, and we got out, climbed pretty smooth.
But
run
yeah,
the whole way.
I should say, I mean, left on time. At the end of the day, everything was on time given the weather
Oh, yeah.
cancellations. Still left on time.
Yeah.
For us, it was great because we were missing the Creighton game, but Southwest did
Yeah, shout out to the live TV that they have.
have the game.
Yep.
So that was, it was, I love seeing the people that actually were like, put their hands up in the air when Creighton won.
Yeah.
Because I saw like there was 10 to 15 people who were actually
Oh,
watching the
really?
game.
Because I knew me and Justin did, but
Yeah, and I finally got my iPad to figure out how to get the Wi-Fi to work. And the guy that was 2 seats to the right of me, he actually, after the game, he fist bumped me because we both were watching the game. So it's like good old Creighton basketball.
Yeah, that
Hey,
trip could
sports.
have gotten off to a rough start, honestly.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
especially yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but yeah, if you know me, you know that it literally ruins my day if they lose. But yeah,
Oh, God.
luckily the trip got off to a good start.
So we get up in the air. Our experience is pretty good. I showed you both a picture of the part of their IFE, seeing the plane when you try to track the plane. Like it literally showed the plane was the size of 2 states. It was kind of funny.
It was
So,
hilarious.
It was
dude.
very proportional.
If you ever get to experience the Southwest IFE, check that out and take a screenshot. So we all land at Fort Lauderdale. Do we have anything else to say about the plane, the experience?
No.
I mean, it's Southwest.
Not really. I
so-
think, yeah, it was pretty
It was an
standard.
uneventful flight.
It was good.
It was fun.
Yeah.
In a good
Oh,
way.
it was good,
Uneventful in a good way.
Absolutely. So we land in Fort Lauderdale. We got our picture at the gate that we
Yes, we did.
were there. The Fort Lauderdale airport's a little bit different, but not bad. Small
Not bad.
airport. Small-ish.
Not Omaha small.
Not Omaha small. So then we get in line, or actually, when you look at the airport, there's a lot of, they got planes in they got model planes up in the ceiling for art. They have what's the Guy Harvey painting near the baggage check-in or I'm sorry, where you go to pick up your luggage. Justin, you noticed that the Southwest had a special international
Oh, the sign.
sign.
Just something you don't see at least here, because we don't have any Southwest international flights. But yeah, just funny sign. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Just the word Southwest International all in one sign.
and you forget. You're like, oh yeah, I guess that's
Yeah,
the
they
thing.
do that.
So we pick up our bags and we make our way out to go get our van to our hotel. Finally, it shows up about 45 minutes later, but
Okay.
whatever. We're
It
there.
happens.
Yeah.
It's a complimentary shuttle. It happens.
It was
Yeah.
nice and warm, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're in Florida. What could we complain about?
And we get in our van, and the guy is just.
He's had a long day or something.
It was bad. Like he locked himself out.
He locked himself out, yeah.
And then the people who were like trying to get into the van, the people were not unlocking the door. Like
Not understanding what to do.
There was some sort of language barrier.
it was so
Yeah.
weird. But we eventually get to
I thought
our
it was hilarious. I thought it was honestly hilarious.
yeah. Like we weren't sure if we were gonna arrive at the.
I was ready to
hotel.
bust out a window. I was like, are we about to do this?
Like, this is.
I mean, yeah.
We get to our hotel and that was pretty much it. Except that night we did go to the Hard Rock Hotel.
Oh, yes, the
which-
casino.
The
Hey, we were able to catch a
casino.
lot of the Chiefs-Dolphins game. It was
Yes.
weird watching the Chiefs-Dolphins game happen in Kansas City while we were in South Florida.
Right. That was interesting to see the opposite side of the fans.
Yes.
And yeah, that pretty much ended up our first night of our 3-day adventure. So on that note, we'll be right back and we'll talk about day number 2.
All right, how we doing? Welcome back to the exit row. All right, so picture this. Day 2. South Florida, Fort Lauderdale. We wake up. Paige, what happens? Anyway, so yeah, just kidding. Just trying to set the scene. So anyway, so just to clear things up. So going into this trip, obviously the main point of focus was to fly the inaugural Southwest Omaha to Fort Lauderdale. However, wanted to spice things up a little bit. Adama, I remember you bringing up the Silver Airways aspect
Correct.
of this, which was awesome, by the way.
Yes.
Then we took it to the next level. So basically what happened on this second day that we'll get into here shortly is we all took a different flight on Silver Airways. If you don't know anything about them, it's basically a fleet of ATRs. I think that's all they fly is the ATRs, right?
Yeah, I think so.
At least
Yes.
passenger-wise.
While you do that, I will.
Passenger-wise, that is.
Fact check, yes.
Technically, they flew in Omaha, but as freighters.
Correct.
But
Oh,
either
yes.
way. So the idea that we had was on this day that we would all take a different Silver Airways route. So for me, I went Fort Lauderdale, Orlando. Paige took this opportunity to go see Clear Waters, I believe it was. That was a bucket list
Yes,
item.
in Key West.
So you took the Key West route, and then Adama went out of the country. He went to Germany. No, wait, not that's right. This is the Bahamas.
Germany on silver.
He just went to the Bahamas. Just to the Bahamas. So anyway, so yeah, we're going to dive into that now. Paige, how awesome was it?
Oh, it was incredible. Adama, you have...
Or Adama, I think you might have had something to say.
Sorry, I was going to fact check. They do have some DH 6 300 Twin Otter seaplanes.
Although their whole fleet is prop.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Paige. Sorry, go ahead.
Jump into it, Paige. Dive right in.
So, wake up at like 5 a.m. Early morning, long day. Just a little bit of a quick piece of advice for anybody who's going to do the Brightline. Don't book the Uber through the Brightline. Because,
Yeah, I wish you would have told me you were doing that. I wouldn't have done that in the first place.
Yeah, because it won't show up. So,
I remember seeing you outside the hotel, and I was like, what are you doing here?
yeah, just waiting for my Uber that never showed up. So I eventually had to book my own Uber and got out of there, got to the Brightline, got the premium lounge to myself for about an hour or so before we departed, got to Miami where I took off with American. So Brightline, loved it. Got to the airport, was pretty uneventful.
You flew out of Miami, correct? You took Brightline from Orlando to Miami?
From
right?
Fort Lauderdale to Miami.
Or Fort Lauderdale, my bad.
Yeah.
Fort Lauderdale, Miami.
Yep. And then I get on the plane. This is my first time on an ERJ.
Oh.
Yeah, big stuff.
Were there tears? I mean, jeez.
A little bit. It was a nice plane.
Cute plane face.
Oh gosh.
A lot of
Don't even get me
Americans,
started.
Americans and bros are relatively not new, but they're like within 5 or 6 years, they're pretty well new.
Yeah. So we get on the plane and we're sitting there.
Who's we? You and your buddies?
Yes, Aileron. Me and Aileron took this adventure together. So we get on. We're sitting there, and we're sitting there.
Do you have to book Aileron on a separate seat or no?
If there's a seat available,
Do you
I
put
will
her in
put
the
her
baggage
it,
bin
yes.
up ahead?
Nope, she's my lap child. So yep, we get on the plane and we're waiting and I start getting flashbacks to my flight out of Dallas where we almost got canceled due to a mechanical issue, and I'm like just getting this gut feeling like here we go again, and we're just we sat there for maybe 20 minutes before anything was ever heard. And so the captain comes on and he's like, well, this is a little interesting. And I'm like, oh, geez, here we go.
That's good words.
He was like, well, one of the ground crew members decided to quit their jobs, and now we have to find a replacement to get us pushed back.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about
I
that.
appreciate the honesty from him to be, that's awesome that he actually was upfront rather than just saying we got an issue with a leak, some malfunction.
And you could hear all the passengers were just like, oh, like.
Huh. So like one of the ramp workers quit is what it is?
Yes. One of the ramp workers just decided, you know what, I'm done. Left.
Jeez.
And so it was maybe about 10, 15 minutes later where we pushed back.
I've never heard that ever.
No.
Ever.
Me either, but leave it to me in typical Paige fashion when I'm traveling.
Exactly.
Something always happens.
Honestly.
Like.
Yeah, when you texted us that, I was like, someone just quit? I just imagine them just throwing down like a bag. They're like, I am done.
That's how I pictured it. Like, what kind of day did they have to lead up to that moment where they just walked out?
The odds of all the flights in the world that were happening that day and the ramp worker quits is on your flight. Yeah.
I know.
You can tug yourself.
You can push yourself back. Just use thrust reversers. It's fine. So yeah, we get in the air. We're getting to Key West, and super short flight. And I saw clear waters for the first time from the plane, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I was just so enamored, so happy to see it finally. We get to the airport, and it is a ridiculously small airport. Like, you've ever been to Key West, you walk in to this building that looks like a machine shed, basically, and then there's two doors.
Machine shed.
That's what it felt like, and then there's just two exit doors. Like,
Welcome to Freeport, Bahamas.
yeah, I imagine it's about the same.
The picture you sent us looked like Lincoln, in my opinion, the way they had planes hanging from the ceiling.
Oh yeah, there's two separate terminals actually. There's an arrival terminal and then there's a departures terminal. So in the arrival terminal, it's a completely different building. So I get out, I go to the area where I'm gonna get my Uber up to.
Because what was the plan? You were just trying to go to the beach, right? Because
Yep, just go to the beach for a couple hours.
Yeah,
Just hang out. Yep. And so call my Uber over. He comes, and we're going along this road, and I can see the beach to my left. And to the left of this road that we're going down is the two left lanes are torn down for construction. So it was taken from a 4-lane to a 2-lane highway, quote unquote, I guess is what you could call it. And I'm seeing on my Uber driver's GPS that it's telling him to take a right into this like hotel. And immediately I identify this as a problem. And he's like, he pulls into this hotel, of course, and he's like, well, it's telling me to go here. And I'm like, well, I want to go to the beach. And he's like, yeah, the beach is over there. And I'm like, yes, take me there, please.
Did he speak English? I can't remember what you said. Like, it wasn't great, right? I mean,
no, there was a language barrier.
There was. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so he was like, yeah, the beach is over there. And I'm like, could you take me there? And he's like,
beach there.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And he's like, well, where do you want me to drop you off? I'm like, what? I don't know. I'm not from here. And he's like,
yeah. What you're telling me, man? Like,
right.
I've had that happen once before. I'm like, really? You're asking me? Like,
exactly.
That's funny.
Exactly. And I'm like, I'm not from here. I don't know. And he's like, do you want me to drop you off over there? Over there? I'm like, whatever is easiest. And so he pulls onto the highway. And then I can see his GPS reroutes him back to the airport. And he's like, it's telling me to go back to the airport. I'm like, I don't want to go to the airport. I want to go to the beach. Yeah. And so what does he do? He stops in the middle of the road, the highway. And we have people honking at us. And I'm just like, I just want to disappear at this moment because there's people blaring their horns. And I'm just like,
You should have just gotten out of the car.
I should have. But like we were in the middle of the road.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, the beach is right there. I'm like, yes, take me there. And so what does he do? He goes back to the airport.
Naturally.
He goes back to the airport. I'm like, oh my God. And he turns around.
So you got a round trip.
Yeah, comes back. We go back. And he stops in the middle of the road again. He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get out here. And I did.
That was interesting. That is weird. But you did get to the beach, right?
Yes.
Good.
And I didn't think I was going to. And I was getting really annoyed.
Like walked. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually pretty funny that you took a round trip Uber, but yet walked to the beach.
Yeah.
Right. I walked. All I had to do was basically cross the street.
Right.
At that point, which he at least got me back to where we just were. But so I stayed at the beach for 2 hours. Incredible, 80-degree weather, white sands. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Get back to the airport for my Silver Airways flight.
Here we go.
There we go.
Yes. And it was on time. Everything was great. Incredibly rough flight, actually. Very, very turbulent. A lot of weather moving into Fort Lauderdale as we got there. And overall, incredibly, it was a great flight. It was uneventful. The flight attendant complimented me on aileron, which that was sweet. So shout out to them. But yeah, it was a great experience to fly on that prop plane. And yeah.
Would you do it again?
Yes, I would absolutely do it again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So, Paige, you completed your part of the trip. Justin,
I did.
You were next, even though you started earlier.
Yeah, so logistically, we're going out of order. But, yeah. So, Paige, that wrapped up Paige. So, for me, my trip was technically shorter. As we mentioned, I saw Paige out of the hotel. I come running out because my Uber is already there naturally, and I'm running late. Shocking.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny that I wasn't waiting. My Uber's there, yet I'm not there. Paige is there, and her Uber's not there. Just doesn't make sense, right?
Right.
Anyway, so I get in mine. I was like, see ya.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, we'll see when we get there.
So yeah, I took Silver Airways from Fort Lauderdale to Orlando. So a couple things I do want to mention about the Silver Airways flight is, so the check-in process was obviously fine. I wanted to make sure to get a ticket, of course, a hard copy ticket, thinking I would keep it, the whole ticket that is, thinking I would keep the whole physical,
Oh, that's right.
like 6 inches or whatever of the ticket it is. So I remember boarding the plane. I think everyone just basically boarded at once, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And which my flight was actually pretty full. I wouldn't say 100%, but 85, 90% full, which I was surprised because I remember booking the ticket just a few weeks prior and there was no one on this flight. So it makes me think that there's like a lot of walk-ups, which I find odd, but not at the same time. It's kind of weird. I found that surprising that there are that many people that booked their tickets within, 2 weeks' time. But anyway, so when I go up to give the ticket, to scan it, she takes it from my hand and tears it like I'm going into a movie theater in like the 90s or a sporting event or like a sporting event, which was cool and not at the same time. Like I was mad that she was ripping the ticket, but yet I was shocked that she was ripping the ticket physically.
Right.
I was like, did you just physically rip the ticket? And she hands me back a ticket stub and checks my name off on a sheet of paper. Like there's nothing that was done. There's nothing automated or technically that was done. It was just kind of
crazy.
It was awesome. And not at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Like what year?
Still had an old school feel.
Yeah.
I was so shocked that I couldn't be mad that she ripped my ticket. I was like, I think that's cool, but at the same time, there goes the ticket, because the only thing I do have the stub, but it doesn't say Silver or Airways on it at all. It just has the flight number.
Yep.
So, I mean, it is what it is, which is already halfway rubbed off now since it's been in the backpack since I haven't preserved it. But anyway, so took that flight. It was one of those interesting situations where we took a jet bridge, but still walked on the tarmac at the same time.
Yeah.
Because Adama and I flew out of Fort Lauderdale. And I'm guessing Key West, I'm assuming you didn't go on a jet bridge. It was all outside.
It was all outside, yeah. But I had that when I come back to Fort Lauderdale.
That's right. So, that's right. You did end up back in Fort Lauderdale. So that was a cool experience. You know, by the way, these ATRs, you're boarding them from the back.
Oh,
Which I thought was which
that was
I
really
guess I
interesting.
assumed that was an option, but I wasn't aware that was the only
It's
option.
the only option.
You know,
Because
which
the
was
other door is the cargo door, which is in
Yeah.
the front.
that's where aileron goes.
Yeah.
Boom. Anyway, so yeah, because I remember they were leading us all to the back, and I was like, isn't there another option like to make this easier? I just wasn't aware how the ATR worked.
Yeah.
Which I found pretty cool, which is funny because if you have, you know, say rows 1 through 5, you're not necessarily going to be the first people on the plane. You've got the furthest to go,
right.
technically.
Correct.
But anyway, so again, like I said, my flight was full, so I'm glad I picked my seat where I did, which was, so when I looked directly to my right, prop right there. Because I was worried if it did fill up that I wouldn't be able to move around. I wanted to make sure I was sitting where I did, which, hey, Justin, smart move, man. Pat myself on the back. Which is cool. There's something about sitting right next to the engine. I've always loved sitting right next to engines and props. There's something about it. But there's also something very weird and scary just knowing that you're inches away from
death.
decapitation.
Yeah.
Right.
From your Kappa being detated. Shout out the office right there.
Yes.
But no, again, I think like all of ours is a very short flight to Orlando. I think 15,000 feet we got up to.
Mm-hmm.
Smooth flight. Orlando, if you know Orlando, it is what it is. I think there's mixed feelings about MCO. Some people hate it. Some people love it. I think there's a lot of walking that has to be done to get to certain areas. But for me, I mean, I wasn't on a time constraint, so it didn't matter. But I could see if you have to go from one end to the other quickly, it's not exactly possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But either way, like you've got to take a train no matter where you are in the airport, from what I've understood. Like if you're trying to exit the airport, no matter where you are, you got to take a train. Either way. So I took the Brightline from Orlando back to Fort Lauderdale. Convenient thing about this was the Brightline station is actually within the terminals at MCO. So it works out perfectly. Now, I did not go premium like Paige. I did not live the high life due to this being a longer route that I took, obviously being about a 3-hour journey on the Brightline. Prices were obviously a little higher. But it was fun because I thought the Brightline, being that it's a relatively new service, everything's still so clean.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but I found the Brightline to be so nice and clean.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, there's something to be said about some of the people that got on the Brightline, but I'm talking about the physical train itself was nice and clean at the time. So, no, I was really impressed because for me, I had the little speedometer on the laptop, so I broke it out, and we did hit just over 100 a couple points. Because it was weird. I remember looking out and seeing traffic on the interstate, and we were passing them with ease. And I was like, whoa. But it was so smooth. Like, it was so smooth, so quiet. I was very impressed by the Brightline. I just assumed it would be a little more jolty and noisy when we were hitting those high speeds of 100 and whatnot. But it really wasn't. It was actually super impressive. It was my first time on a train of that nature. And so I was impressed. So, I mean, I think it's worth it if you do want to take it. Like, it does beat driving, depending on the day, I've been told. Mm-hmm. But no, I can see why people are using it, and I can see why it is thriving. But anyway, yeah, it is fun to go smooth. Unfortunately, they have those wraps, those ads that go on the wraps on the outside of the train.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't really see outside very well. You can, but just not great.
Not
You know,
good.
like taking video and picture doesn't really do it justice because you got the bubbling. But yeah, I mean, my day came to an end around 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock by the time I got back. Yeah, but that was my journey. Like I said, everything worked out logistically well. Things were on time. Had a great time. I would absolutely do Silver Airways again. I would love to do all their destinations.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Which, by the way, is an impressive route network. But Adama, you left the country.
Yes. So
yeah, you did.
I went international on this one because, again, I want to try a different path than everybody else went. And I saw that they had an option to go to the Bahamas. So myself, it's easy. I'm like, all right, I got my passport. Let's do this. So I take the Silver ATR 7.2. Yeah, the 7.2 with Silver. Or no, it was 4.2. I can't remember. Either way.
4-2.
I ended up taking this whole trip. I took a ATR 7.2, a 4.2, and then a 737 because
Within a span of like 6 hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I leave out of Fort Lauderdale. I take Silver. I think it's Charlie 8 is the gate.
Yes, sir.
Charlie 8 is the gate.
Had your ticket ripped, right?
Yep, I had it ripped as well.
Sick.
I was upset too.
But yet impressed at the same time.
It was so awesome to go down just see our aircraft, walk up right next to it, get in. My aircraft, they had to do weight and balance because we only had like 5 people on the plane. So the guy behind me had to move. I chose a front row seat. Why not?
You mean like row 1?
Row 1, yeah. Right next to the props as well. And the flight was bumpy leaving because it's just Florida. The weather it is over there. Made it over to Freeport, Bahamas. Had to check in through immigration and customs. And they asked me, so why are you here today? Where's your hotel? They were very confused that somebody was going to the Freeport, Bahamas to only take another plane to go to Nassau to then they're like, wait, you're not staying in the Bahamas. You're only here for like 6 hours. Like you said.
Had to have been blown away. They had to have been blown away. They're like, so you're here because?
Yeah.
They've never seen that before. So I finally make it through. No issues. The thing about Freeport, Bahamas is kind of like you said, Paige, they have an arrival gate for all the internationals, but you don't depart out of there. You have to go depart out of the real Terminal 1. And that is for that Terminal 1 was also their Bahamas destination trips. So I'm going to cut this in a little bit because we're going to get a little bit over on this segment. But what I do is I check in at Bahamas Air, and they have a hard time checking me in on the second flight because what I'm doing is I'm taking the ATR 72 with Bahamas Air or 42. Taking that, it was a 72. I took the ATR 72 Bahamas Air out of Freeport. Their terminal looks like a gymnasium. Like it's just everybody's in there. Maybe it was
at one point. You don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you have been.
And it was that was interesting. But they call everybody up, get on. Again, this one you walk up to the aircraft in front of everybody. Get on the aircraft. It's quite old. It's falling apart, even though it's only 6 years old. The interior is just nasty and disgusting.
You're referring to the ATR or the 737? Which
the Bahamas Air ATR 72. So I took that one out of Freeport. Eventually, they were able to check me in, but they had to cancel my flight and then rebook me from Nassau out to Miami. So I finally am able to get on the aircraft. We take off. That was pretty smooth. No issues with that. I land in Nassau, and that's where my chaos begins. And on that note,
that's where your chaos begins?
for that flight.
Yeah.
For that part of that trip. But on that note, we'll be right back.
Adama's adventures continued.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So I get to Nassau, the airport, and the departures out of there for international flights are a different terminal. So I had to do a lot of walking after I land at the airport. Now, the airport, when you land, you have to, when you land within the country, you have to walk outside in a covered awning, and you walk all the way into the airport, and now you have to leave the airport to go to the U.S. part. So the U.S. departures have their own terminal compared to all the other international flights, which can be confusing if you're coming within the country, because most people don't go within the country. Most people don't go to the Bahamas and go to Freeport. They go to Nassau. That's the most common airport to go to. So I get to the airport. I look for the departure board in the Bahamas terminal, and my flight doesn't show up. So I'm very confused. So that's when I actually go to the Bahamas Air check-in, and they say, oh, no, sir, you need to go to the U.S. departures terminal. Okay, so I take the 5, 6, 7 minute walk. I'm getting close to time because I did leave Freeport a little late, and my time to Miami was going to be pretty close to try to get through TSA, because over there in the Bahamas in Nassau, you can actually do your TSA pre-check there, and you can actually enter the country from within that terminal. So you're in America in the Bahamas. So I get into that terminal and I see that my flight is delayed. Okay, I'm all right with that. I understand it happens. It's only like an hour late, so I have time now. I'm like, okay, cool. I haven't eaten all day. I'm going to get through the food, go eat at the food court and get myself something. And I look at the board. I'm watching the Cowboys game. I'm watching them lose. Everything's amazing. People are around me in the food court enjoying it. But I keep looking at the board, and the board says delayed. And then they delay it again. And then I see on the board it says call airline. What? Okay.
What?
Okay, I don't need to be stuck in the Bahamas, sleeping in this airport.
Boards, instead of delayed or the time, it says call airline.
It says call airline. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go walk to the gate and see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And see, real quick, not to butt in, but I remember like that was kind of the thing about that day that we had Silver Airways and Bahamas Air. These airlines don't have apps, so we're at the mercy of being at the airport and having to find these things out,
Yes.
Right.
So that was another thing that I thought about. Is like we're at the mercy of having to find out at the airport versus, can we take our time or not? We're not getting notifications. It's just not possible. But anyway, that was just something I wanted to know, that these these airlines didn't have apps. So we're having to find this out literally at the airport.
Yeah. And it was kind of a nightmare, but it actually all ended up working out. It wasn't as bad as it was.
You were stuck in the Bahamas. Shut up.
Yeah, right. But I was inside the airport and at night, so there's nothing to see except watching the Cowboys lose. So I decide I'm going to walk to the gate and find out what's going on. So I get to the gate, and the lady there at the gate is like, I show her, I'm like, look, it says call airline for the status. And she goes, I don't know what that means. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what this means? She's like, well, it's still leaving. Okay. I'm going to believe you. Next, everybody else starts to notice within that gate, like, hey, this says call airline. What does that mean? And I'm like literally getting ready to call the airline. And I'm looking at...
You want everyone on board calling the airline. It's going to bog down the system. Everyone's going to be on hold.
Right? And then I'm looking at Flight Radar 24, and there's an asterisk next to my flight to Miami, which when that happens is usually either it's going to be canceled or there's an issue for sure.
A significant delay usually when that happens,
Yeah. So all of a sudden, and I'm texting you too while this happens.
Because the aircraft you were originally scheduled on was had just left for Tampa.
Yes.
Because I remember following your aircraft that you were scheduled on. It had just left for Tampa to come and then come back.
Correct. And I'm texting you. I'm like, guys, I think I'm going to be quite late getting back.
Yeah, you started to go Paige on us.
To Fort Lauderdale. I did. So
everything's over. The world is over.
It wasn't that dramatic. But what happened was, though, what made it dramatic more was the gate agent just left. So you have a bunch of us.
You both had people just quit.
They just
left.
We
did.
And have no clue what was going on. Everybody else is trying to figure out what's going on. It says call airline. People are trying to call the airline. And mind you, you have people who are visiting from other countries, like visiting the Bahamas. Well, like me too, yes. But I think there were some French people or Canadians who were down there because they were speaking French. And they were also like, hey, I need to get a connection in Miami. What is going on? So then that lady comes back. And then she leaves again. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Gosh. I have no clue. All of a sudden, the crew shows up. And I'm like, okay, the plane is still in Tampa, maybe, wherever it was located. And I'm like, okay, well, we have a crew here. So there's got to be a 737 that's here. So that was the part of the trip that was... made it interesting was that I had 3 different aircraft, which I already discussed previously. And this time I was taking Bahamas Air 737. So I took their 72 and I took a 737, which I know, Justin, you were jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally...
An ex-Alaska 737.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, so finally I get on the aircraft but you guys were like confused because
Well, yeah.
I made it sound like I was super
Yeah.
delayed and
When
know
your
when-
aircraft's in Tampa and you say you're boarding, that naturally doesn't make sense.
Right. Even I was just like, you were just like, oh, there's the plane.
Because you somehow
I'm
had
on.
you somehow had an aircraft swap on an airline that has a fleet of like 3 737s.
I know. That's why
Like,
I was so
I just
confused.
didn't think that was possible because you said you're boarding, and I was like, well, unless you're in Tampa, that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys were confused, and I actually sent you pictures of the plane and the outside of the plane. And I ended up on the 737. Like you said, Justin, you recognized the inside of it as an old Alaska 737.
that
And then you
interior
looked it up, and you were correct.
I mean, I just assumed, I was like, oh, it kind of looks Alaskan because I didn't think it looked very Bahamas to me. But
Right.
yeah, it's funny that aircraft was ex-Alaskan, yeah.
So, needless to say, I got out of there about 4 hours late, ended up back in Miami, barely missed the Brightline. I also got to do my Brightline
Barely
experience.
made the Brightline, right? Barely made the Brightline.
Barely made the Brightline.
Yeah, the last one for the day.
And this was also the Miami Heat were playing, so I had to deal with all the Miami Heat fans who were there as well. But
Okay,
ended
fine.
up getting back, and day 2 was finally finished.
Finally. By the time
Finally.
we made it back.
And
Right.
I saw you guys later, and it was great to see you guys. So,
Yeah, we talked it up in the hotel lobby.
yeah, we did.
did,
And
yeah.
we watched some football, too.
I think Paige and I took down like 2 bottles of wine, just talked it up.
Right.
All right. On that note, we'll be back with our third day.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are now entering day 3 of our Florida trip. Yay. It is come home day for us, though.
So not yay. Yeah.
We started our day off with some plane spotting.
That's right. We all got on our bus, the shuttle from the hotel. Justin,
The complimentary shuttle.
yeah, the complimentary shuttle, ended up not locking himself out.
Everything went well this time.
Went a little bit more
Things went
smooth
fine. I
than
think we
the
had a new
last.
driver, so shout out to him.
Right.
Textbook.
So we all left Fort Lauderdale, but before that, we went ahead and did some plane spotting.
I mean, who would we be if we're not av geeks and we didn't spot?
Right.
Right.
We kind of
Like,
it goes against the av geek Bible,
it
right?
really does.
I mean,
So we arrive there at the airport, and we get into the Cypress garage.
that's it.
That's what we got. And we went into the
yeah.
Cypress garage. However, that was not the garage we needed to get to.
I mean, the point of the mission was try to get to a place that is within the Hibiscus garage. It's a point that overlooks the east side of the airport mainly. It looks over those terminals, but the trouble was finding that point.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we ended up finally, we went quite a few levels up and down trying to figure it out, but then we got to the car rental facility, and some guy, let's call him Bob. Bob told us where to go, which was like the 5th level of the 7th level was where the bridge was to connect to the Hibiscus
Yeah,
garage.
honestly, if it wasn't for him, I'm not too sure if we find it.
Right.
To be quite honest,
We'd still be looking for it right now.
we'd still
Coming
be
in clutch.
yes, we'd still be looking for it.
Legend has it. We'd still be
Yeah,
looking.
shout out Enterprise Rent a Car, man.
So we
Yeah,
get
great,
there.
Great place.
We get there finally, and we're seeing planes take
It's one of the
off.
more well-known spotting areas of the airport, I would say.
Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
more popular ones.
And it was great. We got to you're overlooking the city, you're overlooking the silver ATRs that are out there, all the aircraft that are taxiing out and about, takeoffs, and
Great backdrop with Fort Lauderdale. Absolutely.
it's so
Yes.
great.
It's fantastic.
So yeah, so Justin, you're out there spotting with us, and
Just time's flying. Literally, no pun intended. Time's flying.
literally, and somebody had to remind you, hey, buddy, you need to go get your flight.
Yeah, your plane just landed, and you're still here.
Yeah, no, because as I'm on my way down the elevator, literally, I was like, would you look at that? I was like, look at the time. My mind. But, yeah, I mean, it was
cutting
cutting
it
it
real
close.
close.
It was cutting it close for sure.
Yeah.
So
When there was no, knowing me, if you know anything about me, I would be someone to arrive at the airport 3 hours early and miss the flight. But luckily, that did not happen. So made the flight.
Pretty close.
So we went Oh wait, I should mention there's a little tram there. If anyone knows
Yes,
Fort
I wanted you to
Lauderdale.
talk about that tram.
I knew there was something I wanted to mention.
Yeah,
there.
we did not have the
there's-
luxury of
There's
going on
a
that.
Henry Dorley, for those here in Omaha, there's a very Henry Dorley Zoo type tram that basically goes within the parking garages at Fort Lauderdale and just takes you to each terminal. Just runs. It's just circular, just kind of runs and runs and runs. But the thing about it is, like I said, it's very Henry Dorley Zoo-esque in that it's basically park benches bolted down onto a tram, and that's the tram. However, this tram runs at an average of maybe 4 miles an hour. So for me, when someone's saying, "Oh, thank God there's a tram here to help me out," and then it starts moving, and you're like, "All right,
Yeah, you thought.
I should get out and push." Something like that, like having to do weight and balance on this thing, like literal bags weighing it down, pushing it down, now down to 3 miles an hour. I mean, it was a tough journey, but we did make it to Terminal 3, which is where I had to go. Luckily, security was a breeze because I was running short on time, as we've noted. Shocking. But yeah, the tram is funny. If you do have more time, I recommend riding it. If you do not, just walk. You will be better off. But my route home versus you guys, I went American. I had Charlotte. I went Fort Lauderdale, Charlotte to LaGuardia, both on A321s. And then I went LaGuardia to Omaha on an Embraer E175. And I would say, like, everything was fine. I mean, I had tight connections. That's the way I made it, was with tight connections. But the flight out of Charlotte was an hour and a half late. And so that, at the time, leaving Charlotte, I was going to miss the connection in LaGuardia. Like, that's how it was laid out at the time. But luckily, once I got back on the ground in LaGuardia, I found out that the flight was 20 minutes delayed, blessed by the AvGeek gods with just enough time to get to the next flight. So, there were delays, but things worked out just fine. Just fine. So, that's my trip. And you guys went a little bit different.
Yeah. So, as I've stated in the previous podcast, I am looking to fly all the mainline airlines here in America, and I haven't flown JetBlue ever. So why not go ahead and make my route a little bit different? And Paige joined me on the adventure, so we took JetBlue, which also was your first time flying JetBlue.
It was.
A couple of first timers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
Did they acknowledge
experience.
you on board?
Oh, phenomenal. I love JetBlue.
So first off, let's talk about, we get to our gate, right? Mm-hmm. And what's great about the airport there is you can actually see the runway, like see the departures of some of the aircraft.
We had a really good outlook on the Spirit and JetBlue departures mainly.
And yeah, obviously you can see aircraft depart all day, but
It was very
you could see the
close.
ramp, how it like ramps up. So it's not a flat runway. It definitely has that slope. So it's kind of cool to see the aircraft take off.
That was really cool.
Right there. So we get to our gate. They get us on board. And Paige, what do you notice when you get to your seat?
That the seatback entertainment has your name on it.
Right.
It says,
And yours said Paige.
yeah.
And mine said Adama.
Yeah, that was so cool and so personalized. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was shocked to even see the seatback entertainments because I wasn't expecting that, period.
Some IFEs. And you guys had an older A320 too. That's what surprised me out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of skipped. We went up to the seat. But one of the first things I noticed that once we got on the aircraft, so JetBlue, every single aircraft has like a slogan on the aircraft.
Yes.
A little title of the aircraft.
Yeah, on the front.
And so when you enter the aircraft, right there's a big old circle that says the name of the aircraft that you're on.
It was
whatever
so
the slogan
cute.
is.
And yours was
Honk if you love blue, I believe is what ours was.
honk if you love blue.
Yeah, I believe that was ours. And then also on your seatback entertainment, it'll have the airplane name. It said, you were on airplane honk if you love blue. And it has a little bit of a
Did you
story
honk?
about the plane.
Did you honk?
Yes.
I don't know what to say there.
Okay. Me
I don't
either,
know what that
honestly.
means, but I'm assuming you did.
I know there's booping and honking. I
If
don't know.
if anyone honked on that flight, Paige definitely honked.
So we both I had row 24 window seat. You had row 25 window seat, which is great because on JetBlue you actually know which one is the window seat or the aisle seat, because one of the features that I thought was pretty cool is when you look to see your seat assignment or find where your seat is, it literally says like 21F window, E center, D aisle.
So like the bag bin, like where those numbers are listed, is what you're
Yeah.
referring to.
Right.
This is really nice. And I noticed that. I was like, hey, that's really nifty.
Yeah, because some people don't understand.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard, and in the moment, it helps make boarding quicker. Like,
Especially-
I know where I'm going to go.
That's the idea, at least.
Right.
That's the
Especially if you didn't select your seat ahead of time and you're just like, assign it whatever at the gate. You don't know, you know?
I wouldn't necessarily say on narrow bodies, but at least for me, like the first time on a wide body, like that would come in handy. Like when you have like an F and an H involved. You know, like I'll be honest, like if I didn't know a map, I wouldn't know which direction to go to find, like, say, H on a wide body.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I just think that's kind of just.
But then what about the
alluding to that.
middle of the 4 seats, the middle one? What do you say?
Or even the
You're
ones where there's 5, yeah.
middle left, middle right, like, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So really cool, like made it quick and easy for us to understand. So I mean, obviously I understand, but
I
like
was
for
gonna
other
say,
people,
wait,
Yeah.
did you
That's what I
need
meant
to
to
refer
say.
to that though?
derp, 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 derp. Never flown before, ever. So the experience was quick. The plane was smooth. I do remember flying because I know Atlanta and Georgia. I remember actually seeing one of the bases that I flew into with the NAOC, Robbins Air Force Base.
Oh, yeah. We
a
flew
lot.
by that.
And I showed you. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
that's where Robbins Air Force Base is. That's where I used to go sometimes. So it was really cool to see that. But let's talk about some of the perks of flying JetBlue, which I found amazing. One of the things was free Wi-Fi.
And it was good Wi-Fi. It actually could run everything on it. Like,
It was pretty awesome. Like,
yeah. It was really impressive.
Because if you hear free Wi-Fi, you might just assume it's not going to be the best.
Yeah. no,
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
it literally Flight Radar 2.4, I could track my aircraft, including GPS signal, like blazingly fast. I was very impressed. I found that they had a wide selection of live TV.
Yes, they did.
It was like 200 channels that you
Oh,
could
it
watch.
was-
Of live
Yeah.
TV?
Yes.
And that was just live TV discounting the movies and the shows they had that you can watch. Oh, it was amazing.
I was able to watch the Bills game and the Chiefs game.
Yeah, I watched that and Impractical Jokers. It was
Or
amazing.
Was it Bills Chiefs? It was the Bills game at that time.
It was Bills Chiefs, yeah. I watched it,
Yeah.
So yeah, great selection of live TV. I'm a person that I will drink the coffee. So I had their coffee, and it was a bigger cup of coffee than, say, what you would get on Delta or Southwest. So it was like a full cup.
Yeah.
You talked about it, Paige, about the screen knowing our name. So we personally greeted. The screen didn't know our name. It was programmed, obviously. You liked the drinks.
Yeah, full-size drinks, the whole can.
They gave you the whole can, which
Yeah.
is so much quicker and easier. The
I will say,
service.
just as a note, it does happen on American. But
Yeah.
There you
continue.
go. Not
It is
used to
nice.
that
It is
being
nice,
Delta
though.
or
It is
something.
nice. It is cool, though.
What else did I say? Free Wi-Fi. The full power outlets
Yeah.
was nice. I wasn't expecting it for a JetBlue aircraft, but now
Right.
I know. And it also had like the USB-A and USB-C, so it actually had a plethora of
I
options.
might expect it on JetBlue, just not the older A320s that you were on.
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, JetBlue, I wasn't expecting anything. So for
Me
me,
I mean, they've been known to have a good product, and yeah, it's good to see that you guys checked it all out.
I mean, I guess it would make sense if they do fly to Amsterdam and they do fly to Gatwick.
Right.
Well, even before that, their whole business model was for the business traveler too. I mean, like people need their outlets, so
Yeah. So great to have that, especially the additional USB-C, given everything we have recently with electronics. I talked about the seat label. One of the odd things I had, though, is talking about the power. My flight attendant was upset with me
Oh, my
before we took
goodness.
off because my power cord was connected to something. You know what it was connected to? It wasn't connected to the power source, and it wasn't connected to the TV. It was
Your
connected
iPad.
to my iPad, which I pulled because they said, please remove everything. And I
Yeah.
did. And the cord was connected to the seat back. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't connected to anything. And she was yelling at me. And I'm like, listen, lady, I don't know what you want. It's not connected. And
Right.
then she moved on. She's
Yeah.
like,
Well, Yeah, because they wanted it to be removed from seatback for obvious reasons. The critical stages of flight, they wanted cords, not to be a tripping hazard, which I would assume. And so I heard her say that, and I saw you remove it. And then she came back around again and got some attitude with you and was like, "You need to remove your cord." And I saw you rip your cord out and show her it's not connected. And I'm like, oh boy.
ladies.
So it was, and it was only for departure. So I want people to know it was only for departure, not for during the whole flight.
Yeah, not for during the whole flight. Yeah.
But anyways, we arrived.
Yeah, if there's a whole flight, why have the outlets? In your
Right, yeah.
Good point, Adama.
Gotta make that known.
So
then why do we even have outlets?
So we get to Atlanta, no problems. Arrive. I showed you around the Atlanta airport, especially the walkway there between Terminal A and Terminal B.
The famous walkway. I've always wanted to see that. That was so cool.
The little jungle theme.
Did you treat Paige to a lounge visit again?
I did.
Yes.
I did. I had a visitor pass, so she was able to experience it. I love the Atlanta airport. It's not that hard, but people get so confused by it. It's very easy.
It's just a big airport. Some people are intimidated.
Exactly. Yeah. I find it very easy to navigate. Just get to the train, get to the terminal, and then go to your gate. It's not that hard.
I mean, if you know what terminal you're going to, it's not that hard. But if someone's just completely oblivious to where they're going, I guess I can see it. But, you got to know. So
not everyone travels like we do or just looks at airports for fun.
Right.
I mean, Atlanta, I can see why it's intimidating.
Yeah.
So Atlanta, we get in the Sky Club, and I see that our flight is delayed. We're having issues because in Huntsville, Alabama, they were having sleet and ice.
Yeah.
Right.
We got some weather.
So we got delayed. We stayed in the Sky Club until they were kicking people out. Mm. They're like, you got to get out. If you want to be in a Sky Club, go to Terminal C. And we were in Terminal Bravo. So finally we get to the gate. We show everybody, talking to somebody, and he's trying to figure out where our plane is. And we were able to. What happened was the plane from Memphis became a replacement aircraft. And this Paige was an aircraft that you've never taken before.
Yeah, the 717. An aircraft I had never taken before. And the takeoff is like a roller coaster.
And that's what you were so excited about.
Yeah, because just from spotting it, you see it take off. And it's a very steep climb. And every
it's
time...
Mad Pup.
Yep.
Yeah, and every time I see it, I'm like, is this thing going to do a tail strike? Because it's very, very steep. And so I was really excited. We take off. I'm like, oh.
Relatively, I mean, besides the fact that it was late arriving in Omaha.
Yeah,
overall
we got in
experience?
at 1:30 a.m.-ish?
It was pretty late.
Very late, yeah, because it was about 2 hours delayed, I think.
And we were back in Omaha with a 100-degree temperature change. It was terrible. And it was not easy driving either still at that moment coming back. But you enjoyed your experience with Delta?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Easy. Yeah, it was a smooth ride. And that really is it when it comes to our 3-day trip. So would we do it again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course.
Try a different airport, different routes.
Would we do like exactly what we did again? No, I would like to do something a little different. But yeah, in terms of like the nature of the trip.
Yeah, the concept of what we did, yeah.
Oh yeah, we're not doing Fort Lauderdale again, no.
I mean, I'd like to go back
you literally
there,
just asked if we do it again. So, I mean, what are you asking then?
That's what I meant. Well, correction. Like you said, do it somewhere else, different, concept.
Yes.
Yep. I apologize, guys. Yeah, anyways.
Adama's had a long day.
I'm so sorry, guys. So, Paige.
Yes.
It's time for your polls.
It's time for the polls.
Paige's polls. Paige's polls. Paige's.
Polls.
Okay, there you go.
Not near the luster there. Not near the passion as there has been.
Paige, what poll did you have this week?
So this week's polls are you pro 737 MAX or are you unsure about it? So, love the MAX versus I'm skeptical of it were the choices.
Those were the only two choices.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're working on that.
It's a work in progress.
Love the MAX came in at 59%. I'm skeptical of it is 41% with a vote of 16 to 11.
Okay. So obviously the reason that behind that was the recent Alaska flight that happened. Mm-hmm. We don't really need to go into too much details. I think everybody knows about what happened.
The plug blowout for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just yeeted.
So it's one of those things. Do you still trust the Max?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah. I've flown on it a few times, so.
And would you still continue to fly it? Yeah.
Would you sit next to the door plug though? It's one thing to fly on it. Would you sit right next to the door plug?
That
Well,
is
maybe.
a real question.
That's the question. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's one thing to trust the Max, but would you trust it enough to sit literally right next to that door? Which I guess, that's the crazy story behind it is like, I don't know what you guys believe, but supposedly the reports are that guy, the reason that seat was empty right next to the plug, that was an open seat. Supposedly he just missed the flight. Is like,
Yes.
that's the reports. And like, which is kind of crazy how that
I
all
didn't
works
know
out. Because, the seat directly next to it was empty.
Right.
Right. I did hear about that, but I didn't know.
Supposedly the reports are that they just missed the flight. I guess those
Wow.
are some of the reports I've heard, which is kind of crazy to think about, like how that all works.
Sometimes it happens for a
Yeah.
reason.
Things do happen for a reason. But
Right.
anyway, yeah, I still trust it. Maybe not enough to sit right next to the plug, but I do trust the
Right.
Max,
I maybe would
absolutely.
not do that.
Give me a few years and I'll be okay with the plug. But overall,
Yeah.
I'm okay with the Max and I'll continue to fly it. So I am not purposely looking to avoid a Max.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you won't find me being the person that's going to avoid it, like that's going to book differently because of it. No,
Correct.
absolutely not.
So cool. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and close out this podcast.
Handle train.
Handle Train.
It's the trend.
Paige, where can we follow you?
You can follow me at OMA_spotter_page on Instagram, as well as my travel buddy Adventures with Aileron is also on Instagram.
Justin.
You can find me at spotting.omaha. Yep, I say that like a question, but yeah, it's at spotting.omaha. Yeah.
Awesome. And you can
And
follow
this is the best one.
you can follow me, Photography by Adama D,
Boom.
on Instagram.
Emphasis
You can also
on the
follow
E's.
you can also follow us at the Exit Row Pod on Instagram
Yes,
as
please do.
well.
Yes.
Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Please provide us feedback. I'd love to get it. You can go ahead and message me directly.
Appreciate y'all listening.
And we
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
you guys. We will see you back in a few weeks on your favorite platform. On that note, bye.
Bye.
See you.